And speaking of serious stuff, let's move on to supervisory and enforcement, where an NIS2 gets real, so to speak.
Okay, let's talk consequences. Company ignores these rules. Worst case scenario, what happens?
NIS2, they don't mess around. National authorities, they have power. Audits, on-site inspections, even binding instructions, you have to follow.
So they can really crack down if needed.
They can. And the penalties, well, they're significant, not just a slap on the wrist.
Okay, give us the numbers. How bad could it get?
For those essential sector companies, fines up to 10 million euros, or 2% of global turnover. Ouch, whichever is higher.
That'll get a CEO's attention.
For important entities like our e-commerce listener, a bit lower, but still, up to 7 million euros or 1.4% of global turnover.
The EU is serious, and they're backing it up with, well, with some hefty fines. Makes it clear.
Absolutely. And it's not just about punishing, it's creating a more secure environment for everyone, benefiting from that.
But wouldn't all this cooperation, sharing info, wouldn't that make businesses more vulnerable? Like leaks, misuse of data.
Valid concern. NIS2 addresses that directly. It stresses secure, confidential mechanisms for sharing, strict rules on data protection, who can access it, how it's used, thought through.
So it's a balance. Collaboration, but without compromising the security, the privacy.
Exactly. That sweet spot. Working together effectively but safely.
Well, talking about risk management. Remember, NIS2 mandates all companies need a risk management framework, not a suggestion, a requirement.
Right. Framework to identify, assess, address those cybersecurity risks. What does that actually look like, though, in practice for our e-commerce listeners, say?
It's about having a process, a structured one. Document your risk assessments, create a plan to treat those risks, monitor, update constantly. It's not a one-time thing, this. Cybersecurity is always evolving. Okay, break it down further. What are the essential parts of a good risk management framework?
First, you got to identify the potential risks. The cybersecurity risks your business faces, specifically. Understanding your assets, digital ones, your systems, your operations, that's crucial here. What's important? Where are the weak points?
So knowing where you're vulnerable. Like for an e-commerce platform, customer data, that's high priority. Needs strong protection.
Exactly. Once you've identified the risks, you assess them. How likely are they to happen? What's the impact if they do? That's risk assessment.
So example, the risk of a data breach, that's probably high for most digital businesses these days.
Mhm.
But the fallout, that depends on what data is involved, like customer credit card details, way bigger deal than, say, linking some marketing emails.
Precisely. That's where the risk treatment plan comes in. You've assessed, now how do you address them? Avoid, reduce, sometimes accept the risk. It's all in the plan.
So our e-commerce example, if a data breach is a big worry, their plan, it might involve strong encryption for sensitive data, strict access controls, multi-factor authentication, maybe even cyber insurance on top of it all.
You got it. And the implementing regulation, it gives detailed guidance on this, how to approach risk treatment. I mean, it's not just guesswork.
Okay, even more specific then. Imagine our e-commerce platform. They use a third-party payment processor. What would thinking about risks in that relationship look like?
Well, you got to think, what could go wrong? What if the processor, they have a breach? Their systems go down, your customers can't buy anything suddenly. Those kinds of questions.
So you'd assess the processor's own security, maybe even have like contractual obligations, make sure they're meeting certain standards, not just taking their word for it.
Exactly. And this is where residual risk comes in.
Residual risk. What's that again? Remind me.
It's the risk that's LFT, even after you've done everything to mitigate. Say you picked a secure processor, strong contracts, monitoring them, still, tiny chance something goes wrong. That's residual risk.
So acknowledging you can't eliminate all risk, but get it to a level you can live with. A calculated risk, I guess.
Exactly. And documenting that. You've thought about this, you're accepting that level, that's important for showing compliance with NIS2, I mean.
It's all
on paper.
So risk management is being proactive, thinking through the what-ifs, having a plan, not just waiting for disaster to strike.
Absolutely. And documented, all of it. Assessments, plans, your reasoning behind them, that's crucial. Show the authorities you're on top of this, not winging it.
Makes sense. Okay, shift gears a bit. Let's talk incident handling.
All right, incident handling. When that security incident, that dreaded thing, actually happens, what then? First, you need a clear policy, a roadmap. What to do, covering everything, who does what, communication, containing the damage, recovery steps. It's all got to be there.
So our e-commerce platform needs an incident response plan, a documented one.
Exactly. And it needs to be aligned with their business continuity plan, disaster recovery, all that. Because a major incident, it could shut their whole operation down. They got to get back up fast. Minimal damage.
It's not just the breach itself, it's the business impact too,
Yeah.
cascading effects. What about the reporting requirements we talked about before? Where do those fit in?
Critical part of the plan those are, remember, 24 hours initial warning, 72 hours more detailed report, full report within a month. So you need systems in place, gathering info quickly, efficiently when it's all happening.
So react fast, but document everything meticulously too. Sounds stressful.
It can be. And don't forget the post-incident review after every incident. Figure out what went wrong, why, and what you learned. That's how you prevent the same thing happening again.
So incident handling isn't just putting out fires, it's learning from them, building a more fire-resistant house, so to speak.
I like that analogy. Now let's move on. Supply chain security.
All right, we touched on this earlier, but let's dig deeper.
This is an area often gets overlooked, but it's essential these days. Especially digital businesses relying on all those third parties, vendors, services. You're only as strong as your weakest link kind of thing.
And NIS2 makes it clear you can't just outsource the risk. It's your responsibility that your suppliers meet the standards. The cybersecurity standards, I mean.
Exactly. Think about our e-commerce platform again. They might use cloud providers for storage, data processing, payment gateways, handling transactions, even marketing agencies, dealing with customer data. All those relationships, they're potential risks.
So what can they do practically to manage this?
It starts with choosing the right suppliers. Don't just go for cheap, convenient. Research, ask tough questions, demand evidence, walk away if you're not satisfied. Don't be afraid to.
Due diligence is key, right? Be confident they take this as seriously as you do.
Absolutely. And once you've chosen, the contracts, they got to include cybersecurity clauses, specific ones, data protection, incident reporting, even the right to audit them, check they're doing what they said they would.
So it's not just trust, it's legally binding agreements, protecting your business.
Exactly. And ongoing monitoring, too. You keep an eye on their performance, check in regularly, make sure they're living up to those commitments, not just a one-time thing.
So regular check-ins, security assessments, maybe even penetration testing on them.
Yeah.
Really put their systems through the ringer.
You got it. And if you see red flags, any at all, address them promptly, decisively. Don't let things slide. That's how risks turn into, well, into real problems, costly ones.
Sounds like managing supply chain security. It's like being a watchdog. Vigilant, always looking for threats, making sure your suppliers are, well, they're holding up their end of the bargain.
Great analogy. Speaking of vigilance, let's move to another element, security testing.
All right, this is where we see how well those defenses actually hold up, right, in the real world.
It is. It's about finding and fixing vulnerabilities, but proactively, before the bad guys can exploit them, like a fire drill. Not hoping for a fire, but being ready if one happens.
What kinds of testing should our e-commerce platform consider, just so they know what's out there?
Penetration testing, that's a big one. Hiring ethical hackers, they try to break in, just like a real attacker would.
So like a mock cyber attack, see where the weaknesses are, find the gaps in the armor.
Precisely. And the results, they're valuable. Expert opinion on your security, roadmap for how to improve.
Makes sense. What about vulnerability scanning? How's that different?
Penetration testing, it's more hands-on, in-depth.
Yeah.
Vulnerability scanning uses automated tools, looks for known weaknesses, faster, cheaper way to get a general sense of your security, but it might not catch everything, the subtle stuff.
So it's like using a metal detector, scanning for treasure. Finds the obvious stuff, but you might need a shovel, some digging to find the really valuable stuff.
I like that analogy. Both have their place, these types of testing. Depends on your needs, your budget, the risk level you're dealing with. No one size fits all.
And of course, the results, they should feed back into that risk management framework, right? It all connects.
Absolutely. Continuous cycle, testing, learning, improving. Never ends.